Internet, Hive Mind. This is the fourth studio album from Los Angeles based Odd Future members, The Internet. The Internet started as a sort of offshoot from the main Odd Future clan that included people like Tyler the Creator and Earl Sweatshirt. And in 2011, they dropped their debut album, Purple Naked Ladies. Now, Purple Naked Ladies was a decent album, but at this point, the Internet hadn't really found their niche. This was more of a trip-hop, lo-fi hip-hop sort of album. It became sort of a cult hit. Like subsequent Internet albums, Purple Naked Ladies has some really extravagantly brilliant drums. As part of a hip-hop collective, they would obviously have this sort of drum work inbuilt in their DNA. And quality drums is a hallmark of the Internet. So, Purple Naked Ladies, that was alright. Their second album, Feel Good, again, it was good, nothing really remarkable. But the group really broke out with their third album, Ego Death, which was nominated for a Grammy in the Best Urban Contemporary Vocal category. Now, read into that what you will, but Ego Death was a brilliant album, and I attribute the success of Ego Death to the inclusion of Steve Lacy into the Internet collective. Before Steve Lacy's introduction, the Internet was and is a sort of collaborative effort between Sid the Kid, the vocalist, and Matt Martians, the keyboardist, percussionist. But adding Steve Lacy and his brilliant guitar work into the Internet collective on Ego Death was an absolute game changer for the band, and it was brilliant. It was a great album. It had hits like Girl and really good deep album cuts like Palace/Curse. Now, the Internet really broke out with Ego Death, and people were excited to see what the fourth album would come with. In the meantime, between Ego Death and the fourth album, Hive Mind, each member released a studio album. Some of them were okay. Sid the Kid's album, it was decent. Matt Martian's album, I would say, was below average. Steve Lacy's, again, it's easy to forget how young Steve Lacy was. When he first joined the Internet, he was still at high school. He was about 18 years old. Steve Lacy's debut project, Steve Lacy's Demo, was very exciting, actually. It showcased the sort of the funk and the neo-soul that was really brought to the band when Steve Lacy first joined. Primarily, they were trip-hop, sort of lo-fi, but when Steve Lacy came, the funk really became part of the Internet's DNA. Steve Lacy's project was it was interesting because each of the members brought out a project. So we've sort of found out who was the real creative force behind the Internet. And it turns out it was Steve Lacy, young as he was and young as he is. And interestingly enough, he plays a much stronger role on this new Internet album, Hive Mind. I feel like the name Hive Mind sort of comes from the fact that each of the members have gone off and done their own thing, but they've reunited. All five of the Internet members are back, and this is a good album. This is a really exciting project. Hive Mind begins with a really delicious bass line played by Steve Lacy on the track Come Together. It starts the album off really nicely. It feels really funky, really groovy, gets you in the mood for this album, which is really upbeat. All the tracks are written by Sid Bennett, aka Sid the Kid. Steve Lacy has a hand on a lot of these tracks with his guitar and bass lines that really just drive this album forward, inject a lot of funk into here. And Matt Martians on the percussion is just brilliant. This is, as previously said, the Internet's percussion work is some of the best, and it just draws on hip-hop influences, but it merges it really closely with funk and with neo-soul, and just gives Hive Mind such a great, upbeat, energetic, funky feel that persists throughout the whole project. Come Together is punctuated by some really delicate hand claps that really come to the forefront during the chorus when the vocals of Come Together are multi-tracked, so you get a lot of the different band members contributing here. It feels like a real collaboration piece, and perhaps a sort of an answer to people who thought that the internet might be fracturing a bit with each of the members releasing a solo project since 2015. The third track, Come Over, is another brilliant moment on Hive Mind. It fuses the hip-hop, slowed down beat of the drum with a really funky guitar and bass line played by Steve Lacy, and it just feels like this is the band's mission statement. If you hear one song from this album and understand what the internet are about, it is Come Over. We've got Sid the Kid singing her like sexy sort of vocals, sort of trying to like seduce the lady in question here, and it just feels like really slow, really groovy, but really sort of like energetic and upbeat. Like many songs on Hive Mind, it feels very much influenced by the sort of the Neptunes of the mid-2000s era, that sort of time when there was a lot of funk and hip-hop influences brought together in the Neptunes productions. And the outro especially just feels like a homage to Pharrell and what that little production duo accomplished in that era. And Come Over is just a great track. Really just sets the scene for the album, comes 3 tracks in. Come Over really demonstrates that the 5 members of the internet work better together, just harmonised by this sort of marriage of their different styles. We saw how different each member expressed themselves on their solo projects, but here it feels like the internet is back together and this is where they are at their best. This song would be brilliant live. Come Over, great song on this album. Roll, Burback Funk is another single from this album. And again, great bass line here, really funky. Again, the internet open with this bass line and slowly build the composition on top. And again, the bass just forms the momentum and the backbone of the instrumental here. We've got great falsetto vocals here from Sid. Again, this is another great track on this album. Overall, this album is just brilliant overall. I really like it. The more you listen to it, the more you get out of it. You have to get to know the tracks a bit here, I feel. And it is up there with Ego Death, I feel. It will take some time to see whether this is going to be regarded as well as Ego Death, but it feels great. The singles are brilliant on Hive Mind, and just the group's cohesion really comes out here, and you can really see the vision of what the internet is going to be and is on here. One of the most exciting groups out at the moment. A brilliant fusion between funk, hip-hop and neo-soul. Great album, Hive Mind, the internet. We're going to give this one 8 out of 10 for the internet, Hive Mind.